the learning that you're going to hear today has moved me, and I hope that it moves you as well. So I'll get started. This quote is really special to me because in some really simple language, it exemplifies and illustrates my philosophy on leadership. That in any successful organization, there's not simply one leader making change, driving improvement, setting forth vision, creating buy-in. There are multiple people, many people, through all layers of the organization, driving improvement and investing in an organization to make it better and to ensure that it meets its goals. Also, it means that in such an organization, there is more than one voice driving the work. Not just the traditional leader, but others as well. Now, this may seem simple enough on the surface, right? But it's not actually. And when I thought about this myself, and about the voices in my organization that I listen to, or don't listen to, or hear or don't hear, the results were shocking for me. So I want you to think about the voices in your organization, the people you lead right now. Which are the voices that you tend to hear the most? Which do you tend to overlook or not hear? Come along with me on this journey as I tell you about how I answered these questions for myself and how it led to important improvements at my school. Those improvements weren't made by me. They weren't made by my staff. They weren't even made by members of my community. Rather, the improvements that I'm talking about were made by teenagers and children as young as 7 years old. This is my story about how my children improved our school this year and the leadership lessons that I learned along the way. National Teachers Academy, or NTA for short, has experienced a lot of change and growth over my 6 years there as principal. In my first year as principal, our school fell to level 3, which is the lowest possible rating in all of Chicago public schools. It was through my belief and commitment to shared leadership that we were able to improve outcomes over time. We debated, we discussed, we argued, we reasoned with each other, and through that process, we came to consensus in myriad ways. We mastered the shifts of the Common Core standards. We learned to differentiate to meet the needs of all learners. We added extracurricular programs and extra student supports. And through that time, the work paid off. Today, more students are on track than ever before, and every graduating 8th grader gets into a high school of his or her choice. I'm proud to say that last year, in 2017, NTA improved to the level of 1+, the highest possible rating in all of Chicago public schools. But this isn't the whole story. There's another story to be told here. Every spring in Chicago, students and staff take what is called the My Voice, My School survey. The survey gauges student and staff perception about leadership and instruction and the involvement of families. And results show that schools who do very well on this survey, produce positive, strong results, are more likely over time to improve student outcomes. Of course, the NTA has done pretty well on this survey the past few years, except in one key category. That category is called supportive environment. The supportive environment section of this survey asks students questions about how they feel in their classrooms. How respected do they feel by staff? How invested and connected do they feel to the school? In this particular category of the survey, our results have been flat for several years. And in fact, the year that we got to level 1+, 2017, our results in this category actually went down a little bit. My leadership team and I racked our brains trying to figure out how a 1+ school could have data that looked like this. We had a strongly supportive environment, we told ourselves. We have a counselor, we have a case manager, we have a social worker, We have a clinic right inside our building. We've practiced restorative justice. We've learned about the effects of trauma. We practice mindfulness. We lead students through meditation and do yoga with students every week. Yet students did not agree that our results, that our school was as strongly supportive of. So I had to ask myself some tough questions. How could this be? How did I really know that I was doing right by students? How did I know I was really meeting their needs? I'd never even asked them. And so, I was very tired at the time when I was thinking through this. I wasn't around my kids and I couldn't ask them then. So what I did next was I started to look into the impact of student voice. I never heard my students' voice, so I didn't know what impact it could have on my school or its improvement. So I did a little bit of research. And there wasn't a lot out there, to be very open with you, except for a guy named Adam Fletcher. Adam Fletcher is an educational expert who travels the country, talking to district leaders, principals, teachers, and of course students about the importance of empowering student voice in schools. In short, what Adam Fletcher argues is that when students are partnered with, school improvement is more meaningful for everybody involved. Fletcher has this idea of the ladder of student involvement. The idea here is that there are varying levels to which students can be engaged and involved in school improvement. Basically, those levels can be broken down into two components. The first, here, shown at the bottom, are the less engaging, less participatory elements of student involvement in school. Here, students are tokenized, manipulated, or even used as decoration. Then there's the more preferred elements, where students are involved in decision-making, or even initiate improvements or changes or decisions themselves. When I thought about NTA's student involvement programs and our efforts, you guessed it, most of our efforts fell to the bottom rungs. We had student greeters who would talk to visitors in our classrooms. We had recess leaders who would help out at recess. We had tour guides who would lead visitors through our school during open houses. But in every case, students were being told what to do and being told how to do it. Frankly, this didn't surprise me. In my 18 years as an educator, I have always thought of students as those that I serve, not partner with. And there is a big difference between the two. But then I thought about the quote before that I showed you. Leaders produce more leaders. In whom among my students was I cultivating leadership? Sure, my students were learning to read and write, do math. We were preparing them for college and beyond, to be productive, good citizens. But I was not producing in them or teaching them to be leaders. And I wasn't doing that because I was not listening to them. I was not hearing them. And if I wasn't as the principal, probably no one else in the school was either. So I realized right then that I had to change my beliefs about leadership and how I work with and for students in my school. So the first thing I did, as I think most of us would do, is to go back to the data. I went back to the My Voice, My School survey, and I identified the questions on that survey where our student responses were far below the district average. I pulled those questions out, I made my own survey, and I gave it to my students right in the middle of the school year. And teachers and I planned shoulder to shoulder, looking at those results that connected directly back to that teacher and figured out how we could impact our communities in our classrooms. Was it that the teacher needed to provide more support when students fell behind? Was it that the teacher needed to create more trust or support students who needed or had a question in class? Teachers designed their own plans and got to work in their classrooms responding to the data. But the work of incorporating student voice didn't stop there. Several staff members and I created a student government that we today call the Ancien Congress, which is a group of 35 students who were chosen by their peers, some chosen by staff, to amplify student voice in our school. But I know that simply being appointed as a leader does not exactly make one a leader. And so I spent time with this group of students, cultivating in them the same leadership lessons that I had learned. Things like how to create a vision around which everybody can rally, or get invested, or buy into. How to model by example, or lead by example. How also to listen to those that you serve. After that, students created their own vision statement for the work they wanted to accomplish. And I'll read that statement for you now. We envision every student having an impact on our school by having their voice heard. All students are entitled to a safe environment. Students will have a bright future and become the best versions of themselves. We will create a comfortable and organized environment for all students. We will make an environment where the main focus is on our students' futures. And then, of course, the Ancien Congress got to work. First few things that the Congress did together was to help us rewrite our student dress code. They also helped us to improve our lunch and recess programs. On one floor, Student Congress created comment boxes in every classroom so that students at any time of the day, just about, could offer suggestions in how to make our school better. That resulted for those students in new incentives and a special end-of-year field trip. But not just that. The Ancien Congress has informed our priorities for next year as well. For example, in our character education programs, we will integrate more conflict resolution training because this is something that at every grade level, our students have said that they want and need. This is a picture of all 700 NTA students gathered at the football field behind our school. The students gathered here to take a stand against violence. They sang songs together, they cheered, they had a moment of silence to show commitment to their cause. It was an inspiring experience, but the most inspiring part of this event was that it was completely student planned, student initiated, and student led. We've come a long way from students leading building tours, haven't we? So I want to leave you with a couple lessons that I've learned. First, fundamentally, my view of shared leadership has changed. Students are not served by my organization. Students are part of my organization. As a result, I have a responsibility to cultivate in them the same leadership that I cultivate in administrators, teachers, and other faculty members. So I want you to think, as you leave here today, who are the members of your organization in whom you could be cultivating leadership? Those folks who maybe you never viewed as leaders, but could add value to your organization. Second, I've learned to listen to everybody in my organization, especially those people whose voices tend to get overlooked, crowded out, or ignored. For me, this was second graders who want more recess time, fourth graders who want more incentives, and eighth graders who want to have more class discussions. What voices do you need to hear? Is it a group of staff members that you're overseeing on a new project? Is it someone to whom you're about to market a new product, a consumer base, perhaps? Maybe it's someone in your homeowners association or your condo. in whatever capacity you lead, my advice to you is that before you use your own voice, start by listening to those that you